And these gentlemen and ladies will help to reenact the story both from Paul Revere's own words as well as from our foremost poet laureate, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Why, Mr. Revere! Mr. Revere, is that you?
Why, Mr. Longfellow?
I didn't expect to find you here. What brings you to this fine, lovely afternoon?
I just came to look around. You know, this is the very spot where it all happened.
So it is. But so much has changed. You know, even the place names are different.
So I hear. Monotony is now Arlington. Is this still Lincoln?
Yes, of course, but Mystic is now Medford. And the Cambridge River is now...
It's the Charles River, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Boston Neck, you know, the narrow strip of land that connects Boston to the mainland?
It's now been filled in.
So it has. You know, I suspect that there are a lot of people today who might not even understand who the regulars were.
You mean His Majesty's soldiers? The British troops? Oh, come now. The next thing you're going to tell me is the people today probably think that I was the only rider that night.
There were 3 riders.
That's right.
All right, let us introduce Mr. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Paul Revere, Daniel Prescott, Queen Dawes, Mary Harwell, let us begin.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April, 1975, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day in year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea to the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. One if by land, and 2 if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm to every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up into arms.
I, Paul Revere, was sent forth by Joseph Warren of Boston on the evening of the 18th of April at about 10 o'clock when he desired me go to Lexington and inform Mr. Samuel Adams and the Honorable John Hancock, Esquire, that there was a number of soldiers composed of light troops and grenadiers marching to the bottom of the common, where there were a number of boats to receive them. It was supposed that they were going to Lexington by way of the Cambridge River to take them or to go to Concord to destroy the colony supplies.
I knew Dr. Warren had planned carefully, and we needed many channels to ensure a message would get through to Lexington. In addition to sending Revere by boat across the Charles River to Charlestown, he sent me, William Dawes, by our land route. In case neither of us made it, a signal was to be placed in the belfry of the Old North Church, with colonists watching from the riverbank in Charlestown.
2 days before, I had agreed that if the British went out by water, we would show 2 lanterns in the North Church steeple, and if by land, 1, as a signal, for we were apprehensive it would be difficult to cross the Charles River or get over Boston Neck. This was to ensure that the signals would get through even if we could not.
I left Dr. Warren's office between 9 and 10 p.m. to learn Hancock and Adams in Lexington. On that clear, moonless night, I took a route over the narrow Boston Neck. The British forces were in high alert, and it was very dangerous to be out. Since I had often chatted with a common British soldier, and we shared a mutual dislike for British officers. They let me pass by.
Then he said goodnight, and with muffled oar, silently rowed to the Charlestown shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay where, swinging wide at her mooring, lay the Somerset, British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide.
I proceeded immediately and was put across the Charles River and landed near the Charlestown Battery. Went into town, and there got a horse. While in Charlestown, I was informed that after sunset, 9 officers of the Ministerial Army, mounted on good horses and armed, were going towards Concord.
Meanwhile, his friend, through alley and street, wanders and watches with eager ears. Till in the silence around him, he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms on the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbs the tower of the Old North Church, by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, where he paused to listen and look down a moment on the roofs of the town and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath, in the churchyard, lay the dead in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence, so deep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's tread the watchful night wind as it went creeping along from tent to tent, and seeming to whisper, "All is well." A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away where the river widens to meet the bay. A line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, eager to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse aside. Now he gazed at the landscape, far and near. Then impetuous, stamped the earth, and turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the Old North Church as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer, then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, his bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns.
Ho, 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 Mr. Longfellow, you're changing history. I wasn't waiting for the signal, I had arranged it. When I got over to Charlestown, Colonel Conant and several others said they had seen our signals. The plan had worked perfectly. But, as it turned out, we didn't need them. Then I set off. It was about 11 o'clock, the moon shone bright.
A hurry of hoofs in a village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath the pebbles and passing a spark struck out by that steed flying fearless and fleet. That was all. And yet through the gloom and the night, the fate of a nation was riding that night, and the spark struck out by the steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with his heat.